Hey guys, it's Cheryl from Woodshop Diaries, and in this video I'm going to show you not one, not two, but 3 ways to build a floating shelf. Now I feel a little bit like Ron Swanson when I say this, and if you don't get that reference, that's fine. But I fear what you may have heard me say is I'm going to share the only 3 ways to build a floating shelf. That's not what I said. I said I'm going to show you 3 ways to build a floating shelf. So these are definitely not the only ways, but they're 3 of the easiest ways that I've personally found to build some simple floating shelves. So if you're ready to dive in and get building, let's go. Let's kick things off with what I would consider the easiest of the 3. To be honest, they're all pretty easy, but this one only requires a 2x6 and a 1/2 inch diameter dowel rod. Now for clarity, a 2x6 is just what I went with. You could use a wider board for a deeper shelf like a 2x8 or a 2x10, but you'd really need an extra long drill bit, and you'll see why in a second. So after cutting my 2x6 to the length that I wanted my shelf, which was about 26 inches, I shaved the edges off each side on the table saw. This wasn't necessary, but it just helps square them up. Then I marked my center line down one edge, and I made 4 kind of evenly spaced marks along this line. These don't have to be exact. Now I need to drill 1/2 inch holes at each mark as straight as possible, so I use this little drilling guide. But I also need these to be as deep as possible, so after drilling the initial holes with the guide, I removed it and then drilled as deep as I could without it. These holes essentially need to be as deep as possible without going all the way through. So, like I mentioned earlier, if you used a wider board for your shelf, you'd need to drill deeper holes to properly support it. My shelf was about 5.5 inches deep, and my drill bit was about 4 inches long, just for reference. Then I measured the length of my drill bit and I cut 4 pieces of dowel just under this length. These dowels need to fit snug into the holes but still be able to slide in and out fairly easily. So I stuck them into my drill and I sanded them a little with 80 grit sandpaper. I just kind of kept sanding and then testing until it seemed like a good fit. A few seconds is really all it takes. Then I ripped about 1.25 inches off the edge of my board where I had drilled the holes. I know that this seems kind of weird, but just stick with me. Next, I glued the dowels into the narrow strip before giving it a coat of stain. And at that point, it was ready to install. So I found 2 wall studs, placed my dowel strip across them, and then secured using 3-inch wood screws. It's really important here that these screws are countersinking so that they can sink into the board and they don't protrude, because the other piece of the shelf just slides right on and butts up to the back. At this point, you really need to add a screw or a nail through the top or bottom and into one or more of the dowels to prevent this from possibly slipping off. Let's talk pros and cons of this style shelf. So for the pros, it's the quickest to build. It just takes about 20 minutes. It also allows for a thinner shelf if that's your style. The other 2 options are a bit chunkier. So what about the cons? These are best for shallow shelves. Deeper shelves can tend to sag. Also, the seam in the back is not super noticeable, but it's also not 100% concealed. All in all, these are my favorite floating shelf styles for things like bedroom or bathroom nooks, in hallways where you don't need anything too deep, and for lightweight decor in small spaces. Next, let's move on to shelf number 2. This is a pretty common way of making floating shelves, and I usually call them seamless because all of the corners are mitered and beveled. To build this type of shelf, you need a 1x board that's as wide or wider than you want your shelf depth, a 1x4 board, and a piece of 2x2. Or instead of the 1x pieces, you could also just swap those for 3/4 or 1/2 inch plywood. I personally just prefer using solid boards for these types of shelves. First, I adjusted the bevel angle on my table saw to 45 degrees and ripped both edges off of my 1x4 board. This board doesn't really have to be a specific width, it's just important to make sure that once both bevels are cut, the 2x2 can still fit, with a little wiggle room, on the flat surface between them. Then I ripped the same 45-degree bevel off of one edge of my wider board. These pieces will all fit together to make a hollow box. Brought the wider board to the miter saw, adjusted my bevel angle to, you guessed it, 45 degrees, and I cut 2 pieces with beveled ends, the length that I wanted my shelf. In this case, I just stuck with 26 inches. Now I needed to carefully cut the narrow strip to fit around these top and bottom pieces. Before gluing, I wanted to lay out and test fit everything while it was dry. It's really challenging to get a super precise fit on things like this, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be pretty close. Now, don't do what I did. First, I tried to glue the front and the sides together, then add the top and the bottom. That really didn't work very well, so I ended up taking it apart, regrouping, and then I switched things around to glue the top, bottom, and front together first. Once that was dry, I could come back and add the 2 small side pieces. This was much easier than what I had tried the first time around, but it did still require several clamps. Once that was dry, I gave it a really good sanding to help smooth out the corners. Anywhere there were some gaps, you could use wood filler, but I just squeezed a little glue in, then I sanded it while it was still wet. The sawdust from the sanding kind of mixed in to make its own filler. So now I need to build a frame to go inside of this box that this will slide over and like rest on to attach it to the wall. So this is basically going to be like an E-shaped frame. So I'll have a strip along the back and then some shorter strips coming off of it to help support the shelf. So my back piece needs to be just slightly under the overall width of the opening of the box. That way I can easily slide it on it. I don't want a super, super tight fit. So the inside of this box is about 25.5 inches. So I'm just gonna cut it like 25 3/8. And then the depth of my box here is about 6 inches. So again, to give me a little wiggle room, let's just say 5 3/4. So my frame, I don't want it to be any deeper than 5 3/4. This is 1.5 inches. So I need to cut my little support strips to 4 1/4. So basically I'm going to build a frame that looks like this. Now this is very specific to my particular case, so this really doesn't apply to you probably, but where I'm going to be hanging this in my workshop just to show you what it looks like finished, my wall studs are 24-inch on center in my shop. So since this back piece is just over 24 inches long, I have to put my screws like pretty close to the edge on each end. Normally, I would put these pieces right on the edge of my back. But since I know that I'm gonna have to be driving a screw into the wall studs here, I'm gonna install these a little bit inset. It doesn't really matter. I just know that my wall studs are almost as long as the shelf, so I need to leave this room on the end open for screws. You just kind of have to think a little bit about where you're gonna hang these and where your studs are gonna go, and make sure that you don't install the supports where you're gonna be screwing into your wall studs. I assembled the frame using pocket holes and screws, and yes, I just used 1 pocket hole on each support, and no, I didn't use any glue. You absolutely can use 2 screws and or glue with these supports, but this was more than strong enough for a simple shelf this size. I really don't plan to stack bricks on it. After staining the box, I located the wall studs, secured this 2x2 frame into them, 1 screw on each end, then the box just slides right over it. Once in place, just like the last shelf, make sure to secure the box to the 2x2 frame with a few screws or nails. Personally, I prefer screws just because they're a lot easier to remove if I want to take them down later. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of this style shelf. First, these are a bit chunky. Some people do like that and some people don't. So that could be a pro or a con. So for the pros, this works well for both shallow or deeper shelves. There are no visible seams besides at the corners, so this gives it kind of a cleaner, more high-end look. Now for the cons. This style of shelf is a little more time-consuming and challenging to build than the other two. It also requires more material than the previous style of shelf. All in all, these are a really popular choice for standalone floating shelves. They can work great in any space and are less prone to sagging, even with deeper sizes. The third style of floating shelf is very similar to the second in that it's also a hollow box, but it's, in my opinion, much easier to assemble. For this, you'll need some 1/2-inch plywood, a 1x3 board, and some 2x2. First, I ripped my plywood into 2 strips just under the depth that I wanted my shelves. Now you can cut this with a table saw, a circular saw, even a jigsaw. Then I cut these 2 plywood strips to just under the length that I wanted my shelf. Again, I just kept with 26 inches, just like the other 2. These will be the top and bottom of my shelf box, but just like the previous style, I also needed to cut to fit a 1x3 around the edges for my sides and front. So I marked and beveled these 45 degrees on the front corners. If you didn't want to bevel them, butt joints would also work totally fine. After I test fit everything together, I sanded the pieces, then carefully glued the 1x3 pieces around the plywood to make the box. It's really important here that as you're gluing and clamping to make sure that the top and bottom plywood panels are flush to the top and bottom edges of the 1x3. I did add a few nails so that I didn't have to wait for this to completely dry before moving on. Then I sanded the edges and applied some wood filler to the nail holes. I've actually found that sanding and staining the wood filler while it's still a little wet makes it blend in a lot better. Maybe I'm crazy, but I really think it works. Anyway, with that, this shelf was finished and I just used the exact same frame as the previous shelf to hang it on. So let's talk pros and cons of this shelf style. For the pros, this one also works well for both shallow and deeper shelves. It's also quite a bit easier to build than the previous shelf. But the cons, there are visible seams on the top and the bottom between the plywood and the solid board. Now this could be a pro or a con, but this one is thicker than the first shelf, but thinner than the second. So depending on your style, whether you like chunkier or thinner shelves, this one's right in the middle. This is actually my personal favorite of the 3. In addition to working well as a standalone shelf, this is also a great method for making wall-to-wall floating shelves. Let's take a quick detour to discuss. I recently added a floating shelf to my pantry and I didn't film it at the time because I honestly thought nobody would care, but after I posted it on Instagram, I had a ton of questions, so I thought let's just back up and I'll walk you through what I did. When measuring for wall-to-wall or wall-to-cabinet in this case, floating shelves, you want a tight fit, but you also want to consider that the walls are probably not perfectly square. In probably 99% of the cases, the back of the shelf, where the back corners are probably going to be narrower than where the front of the shelf goes. So I like to take a few measurements to check. Using a laser measure for things like this is helpful, but it's not necessary. So I want to measure where I want my shelf to go across the back. And then since my shelf is going to be about 8 inches deep, I want to move forward about 8 inches and then take another measurement. So I don't really get too technical about this, but I know that the back of my shelf, according to my measurer, needs to be 44 and 17/32. The front of my shelf is 44 and 9/16, which is a 32nd wider. So what I like to do is just bump my miter angle to about a 1/2 degree off square and cut my 1/2-inch plywood panel so that it angles in front to back on both sides. Then I'll measure the front and the back, and if it's not quite where I need it to be, I'll adjust the miter angle a bit more and trim the edges again. Truth be told, I really only care that the front is exact and the back is just close, but erring on the side of too small. If you get it too tight, it'll just scrape the walls to pieces when you try to install it, so a little bit of wiggle room is okay. Now, since these shelves are running wall to cabinet, no one sees the sides, so I didn't even bother with adding nice sides. Instead, I glued and nailed some 1x2 strips between my plywood panels just to keep my spacing right. Then I glued and nailed the 1x3 strip across the front. So it's, again, just another hollow box. And if you're wondering why I didn't install the 1x2s flush to the edges, that's because if I get it inside and find that it needs trimming, it's easier to trim or sand off these edges than it would be if it was solid here. Just like the last two shelves, I built a 2x2 frame that will fit inside, just making sure that the supports here didn't interfere with my 1x2s. You'll also notice that these 1x2s need to stop short of the back edge of the shelf box in order to accommodate the frame. Once this was screwed into the wall studs, just like the other shelves, you simply slide the shelf box right over it. And again, you want a tight fit, but not so tight that it's going to scratch up the walls and the cabinet trying to get it in place. Now, instead of building a box, you could just install the plywood panels directly to the top of the frame and then directly to the bottom of the frame and then just tack a 1x3 onto the front. That would work totally fine. I just like to be able to sand my joints flush, and I don't want to have to sand in the house. I also don't really like the idea of gluing and nailing pieces directly to the frame because it makes them really difficult to remove later. Okay, so the detour is over and we are back to the main road to wrap this video up. We've covered how to build 3 easy floating shelves plus a kind of bonus shelf for wall-to-wall applications. These are such simple projects, but there are so many ways to go about making them. I hope you've enjoyed seeing my 3 favorite ways, and I hope you'll stay tuned to the channel for plenty more DIYs to come soon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, friends, happy building!